The kiss lasted barely 3 seconds. Just long enough for the stalker to hesitate in the shadows of the parking garage. Just long enough for Vanessa Hartwell, sole heir to the Hartwell Technologies empire, to realize that the humble rideshare driver she'd barely noticed was now shielding her with his life. Neither could have imagined how those desperate seconds would transform both their lives forever, sending ripples through Boston's elite circles and proving that sometimes, heroes come from the most unexpected places. If you're enjoying this incredible story of courage, sacrifice, and unexpected connection, please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more extraordinary tales that remind us of the power of human connection. Michael Reeves checked his rearview mirror for the 3rd time in 2 minutes. The woman in his back seat hadn't spoken since he'd picked her up outside the charity gala, but her anxiety was palpable. At 36, Michael had been driving for rideshare companies long enough to sense when something wasn't right. The elegant woman in the midnight blue gown kept glancing nervously out the window, her knuckles white as she clutched her small purse. "Everything all right back there, ma'am?" he finally asked, breaking the tense silence. She startled slightly. "Yes, I'm fine," she said, but her voice betrayed her. "Just a long evening." Michael nodded, unconvinced. In the harsh glow of passing streetlights, he could see she was striking, honey-blonde hair swept into an elegant updo, features that belonged in high society, but there was unmistakable fear in her eyes. He'd seen that look before during his years in the military before civilian life. "I'm Michael," he offered gently. "If there's anything I can do to make your ride more comfortable, just let me know." For a moment, she seemed to consider saying something more, but then her phone buzzed. The color drained from her face as she read the message. Could you take a different route, please?" she asked, her voice barely audible. "Maybe through Beacon Hill instead?" "No problem," Michael replied, smoothly changing lanes. In his rearview mirror, he noticed a black Audi that had been following them for several blocks. His security training kicked in, and he made a sudden turn down a side street. The Audi followed. "He's still behind us, isn't he?" she asked, not turning around. Michael's grip tightened on the steering wheel. "You know who that is?" She nodded, closing her eyes briefly. "His name is Alexander Whitmore. He's been pursuing me for months. Tonight at the gala, he cornered me, said things were going to change." She looked up, meeting Michael's eyes in the mirror. "I'm Vanessa Hartwell." The name registered immediately. The Hartwells were Boston royalty, tech innovation, massive philanthropy, political connections. The woman in his back seat was worth billions, and she was being stalked. "I'm going to get you somewhere safe," Michael promised, making another turn. The Audi stayed with them, closing the distance. Michael's mind raced through options. His sedan wasn't going to outrun the luxury vehicle, and a confrontation wasn't ideal. He needed a strategy. "My building has security," Vanessa offered. "If we can just get there." Michael nodded, but his instincts told him they wouldn't make it that far. The Audi was getting closer, and the driver more aggressive. As they approached a red light, Michael made a split-second decision and pulled into the underground parking garage of the Copley Place Mall. "What are you doing?" Vanessa asked, panic edging into her voice. "Trust me," Michael said, pulling into a spot near the elevator bank. "We need to switch tactics. He's too close." But as they exited the car, Michael saw the Audi screech into the garage entrance. A tall man in an expensive suit emerged, his face contorted with anger. Behind him, several photographers, paparazzi who had been tracking the famous heiress, also entered the garage, cameras ready. "Vanessa!" the man shouted, striding toward them. "Stop this ridiculous game." Michael stepped in front of Vanessa protectively. "Sir, the lady doesn't want to speak with you," Alexander Whitmore sneered, looking Michael up and down. "And who exactly are you? The chauffeur? Step aside. This is between me and Vanessa." Michael felt Vanessa trembling behind him. The paparazzi were closing in too, sensing a story. They were trapped between Whitmore and the photographers with nowhere to run. In that moment, Michael thought of his daughter Lily, just 8 years old, waiting at home with his sister. He thought of how he'd promised her that he'd always protect those who needed help, even after losing her mother to cancer 2 years ago. He thought of how he'd want someone to protect Lily if she were ever afraid. "Please," Vanessa whispered behind him. "His family owns half the newspapers in New England. He'll destroy you." Michael turned to her, seeing the genuine fear in her eyes. And then, without fully thinking it through, he did the only thing he could think of that might confuse everyone long enough for them to escape. He gently took Vanessa's face in his hands and kissed her. For 3 eternal seconds, the world stopped. The paparazzi lowered their cameras in confusion. This wasn't the scandal they were expecting. Whitmore froze, his narrative of pursuing his rightful girlfriend suddenly complicated by this stranger's intimate gesture. When Michael pulled away, Vanessa's eyes were wide with shock. But there was something else there too. A flicker of understanding. Without a word, he took her hand and led her quickly toward a service exit, while everyone was still processing what they just witnessed. They escaped through the service corridors of the shopping complex, emerging onto Boylston Street where Michael quickly hailed a taxi for her. "I'm sorry," he said as the cab pulled up. "I couldn't think of anything else to do." Vanessa stared at him, still stunned. "You risked everything for a complete stranger." Michael shrugged, suddenly self-conscious. "You weren't a stranger. You were someone who needed help." As she slid into the taxi, Vanessa impulsively grabbed his hand. "What's your full name?" "Michael Reeves." She nodded, as if committing it to memory. "Thank you, Michael Reeves. I won't forget this." The next morning, Michael woke to his phone exploding with notifications. Someone had captured the kiss on camera after all, and the image had gone viral. "Hartwell Heiress's secret romance with everyday hero?" screamed the headlines. His face was everywhere. Michael groaned, burying his face in his pillow. How was he going to explain this to Lily, to his sister, to his rideshare company? He'd probably be fired for inappropriate conduct with a passenger. His doorbell rang, startling him. When he opened it, he found a courier with an envelope. Inside was a business card with a handwritten note. "We need to talk. Please call me." Vanessa Hartwell. Across town, in her penthouse apartment, Vanessa was facing a crisis of her own. Her father, Jonathan Hartwell, had seen the photos and was demanding answers. The family's PR team was in damage control mode, and Alexander Whitmore was threatening legal action, claiming defamation. "Who is this man?" her father demanded, throwing the newspaper onto her coffee table. "Some fortune-hunting driver? Do you have any idea what this does to our family's reputation?" Vanessa stood her ground. "He saved me, Dad. Alexander was stalking me again. He wouldn't take no for an answer. This driver, Michael, he protected me when no one else would." Jonathan's expression softened slightly. He'd never approved of Alexander Whitmore, despite the man's connections. "Is that true? Whitmore was harassing you?" Vanessa nodded, fighting back tears. "He's been getting more aggressive. Last night he threatened to make me see reason." I was terrified. Her father's protective instincts flared. "Why didn't you tell me? We could have handled this properly." "Because you're always so busy, and the last time I mentioned it, you said I was being oversensitive." Vanessa shot back. "Michael was the first person who actually believed me and did something about it." Jonathan Hartwell fell silent, guilt washing over his features. He'd been so consumed with running his tech empire that he'd failed to protect his only daughter. Since her mother's death 5 years ago, he'd thrown himself into work, leaving Vanessa to navigate Boston's high society alone. "I want to meet him," Jonathan finally said. "This Michael person." When Michael arrived at the Hartwell Technologies headquarters later that day, he felt completely out of place. He'd worn his only suit, the one he'd bought for his sister's wedding, and it felt tight around the shoulders. Lily had been left with his neighbor, confused about why her dad was suddenly on TV and in the newspapers. He was escorted to a private conference room where Vanessa waited, looking nothing like the frightened woman from the night before. Today she was composed, professional, dressed in a tailored business suit that probably cost more than his car. "Thank you for coming," she said, gesturing for him to sit. "I'm sorry about the media circus. I never intended for any of this to happen." Michael shook his head. "I'm the one who should apologize. I crossed a line last night. It was inappropriate, and I'm sorry." "You have nothing to apologize for," came a deep voice from the doorway. Jonathan Hartwell entered, his imposing presence filling the room. "My daughter tells me you protected her when she was in danger." Michael stood awkwardly. "I just did what anyone would do, sir." Jonathan raised an eyebrow. "No, young man. Most people would have looked the other way, especially when confronted by someone like Alexander Whitmore." He extended his hand. "You have my gratitude." As they shook hands, Michael felt a surreal disconnect. 24 hours ago, he'd been worrying about making rent. Now he was shaking hands with one of the wealthiest men in America. "The problem," Vanessa interjected, "is that the media has created a narrative now. They think we're in a relationship." Michael's stomach sank. "I understand. You need me to make a statement denying everything." Vanessa and her father exchanged glances. "Actually," Jonathan said, "our PR team thinks that might make things worse. A denial would only fuel speculation and keep the story alive." "What we'd like to propose," Vanessa continued, "is that we lean into the story temporarily, just for a few weeks. We appear together occasionally, let the media think we're dating, and then we can have an amicable, private breakup once the interest dies down." Michael stared at them in disbelief. "You want me to pretend to be your boyfriend?" "It would be a business arrangement," Jonathan clarified. "We would compensate you generously for your time and the inconvenience." Michael thought of Lily, of their modest apartment, of the stack of medical bills from her recent hospital stay. The money would change their lives. But at what cost? "I have a daughter," he said finally. "She's 8. I need to consider how this would affect her." Vanessa's expression softened. "You have a daughter? You never mentioned that." "Lily," Michael said, unable to keep the pride from his voice. "She's my whole world." Something shifted in Vanessa's eyes then. A recognition, perhaps, or a new respect. "She should be part of this," she said thoughtfully. "We'll make it work for both of you." As the weeks passed, Michael and Vanessa's relationship became the talk of Boston. They attended charity galas, museum openings, and even a Patriots game where Lily got to meet her favorite players, a surprise Vanessa had arranged. The media couldn't get enough of them, dubbing them the Princess and the Driver, a modern fairy tale. Behind the cameras, something genuine was developing. Michael discovered that beneath Vanessa's polished exterior was a compassionate woman who funded STEM programs for underprivileged girls, and who remembered Lily's favorite ice cream flavor after hearing it just once. Vanessa found in Michael a man of unwavering integrity who treated everyone with equal respect and who made her laugh like no one else could. Lily, meanwhile, had become completely attached to Vanessa, who listened to her stories with genuine interest and never treated her like just a child. "Is Vanessa going to be my new mom?" Lily asked one night as Michael tucked her in. The question caught Michael off guard. "What makes you ask that, sweetheart?" "Because she makes you smile again. And she knows how to braid hair better than you do," Lily said matter-of-factly. Michael couldn't deny his growing feelings for Vanessa, but reality loomed large. Soon their arrangement would end, and they would return to their separate worlds. Meanwhile, Alexander Whitmore had been plotting his revenge. He leaked a story about Michael's military past, twisting his honorable service into something sinister. The headlines were brutal. "Hartwell Heiress dating man with violent history." When Michael saw the news, He immediately called Vanessa to end their arrangement. "I won't let my past hurt your family's reputation," he insisted. "Meet me at the harbor," was all she said in response. That evening, as the sun set over Boston Harbor, Vanessa was waiting on a private dock. When Michael arrived, she took both his hands in hers. "I've spent my whole life worrying about my family's reputation," she said softly, "and it's gotten me nowhere. For the first time with you and Lily, I felt truly happy." Michael's heart raced. "Vanessa, our worlds are too different." "No," she interrupted. "Our worlds were different, but you've changed mine forever." She took a deep breath. This wasn't supposed to be real, but somewhere along the way, it became the most real thing in my life. Before Michael could respond, Jonathan Hartwell appeared, walking down the dock toward them. "Dad," Vanessa said, surprised. "What are you doing here?" Jonathan looked between them, his expression unreadable. Then he did something unexpected. He smiled. "I came to tell you that Whitmore's smear campaign has backfired. The veterans groups are rallying behind Michael. His military record is impeccable." He turned to Michael. "And I came to apologize for underestimating you." Michael stood straighter. "Sir, I need you to know that my feelings for your daughter are real. This stopped being an arrangement for me weeks ago." Jonathan nodded. "I know. I've seen how you look at her. The same way I looked at her mother." He placed a hand on Michael's shoulder. "Sometimes the most valuable things in life come from the most unexpected places." As Jonathan walked away, Vanessa turned to Michael with tears in her eyes. "I don't want this to end," she whispered. Michael pulled her close. "Then let's write our own ending," he said, and kissed her. Not out of desperation this time, but with all the love that had grown between them. 6 months later, Boston was stunned once again when Michael, Vanessa, and Lily appeared together on the cover of Boston Magazine, announcing the launch of the Hartwell Reeves Foundation for Family Safety, dedicated to protecting victims of stalking and domestic violence. And this time, when the cameras captured them kissing, it wasn't for show. It was the real thing.